Now, you're going to think that I am crazy, but these are the things that some parents truly don't know, and that can really, truly cause the baby to feel very disrupted and really not want to eat. And these are 5 different things that you might not even know. So, number one is constantly cleaning your baby when they're feeding. I'm going to tell you a story too about this one. But other than that, when you are constantly wiping your baby's face over and over and over again, every single time that your baby, takes a bite or gets their hands a little bit messy, it's very important for you guys to know that messy play is very important for babies, especially when they're learning to eat. Between the ages of 6 to 12 months, it's really important for them to play with food. Now, I know I am a mom and are, there's times where we feel very exhausted and tired I'm like, I don't, truly don't even want to clean this mess constantly. And it gets very exhausting. So there may be 1 or 2 meal times maybe throughout the week, or even when you're going out to eat, when you don't want the baby to really feel icky and sticky and that kind of thing. So it's okay to clean them once in a while, but I try to reduce it as much as possible because, again, it teaches the baby that it's not okay to be messy, that it's not okay to have, a texture here, or that, they end up getting messy around their shirt and that kind of thing. So they are associating that feeding time is not okay to play with the food. Clearly, it's really understandable when it comes to different types of cultures. And again, this is the story that comes in where my mom and even my mother-in-law, they're like, why are you letting your baby get so severely messy? They're like, faces are covered in, for example, peanut butter. That was one thing. And I literally got into like a mini argument with my mother-in-law. Don't tell her I said this, but other than that, I was like, it's really, really, really important for the baby to explore food. If the baby is not exploring food with their hands, they will not put it in their mouth. Especially even with us as adults, I had to explain this to her. Typically, we need to smell the new food. We need to be able to lick it. Sometimes we kind of put it on our lips, or sometimes we end up touching it, or we look at it really intently before we put it in our mouth, especially with new foods. So it's really important for the baby to explore the type of food or new food more than anything, because they need to make sure that they trust it, to make sure that they're really getting to know this particular food and really be familiar with it. So I remember my mother-in-law, she just kind of threw a napkin at me and my baby. I was with my son, and she's like, well, I don't understand why you're letting him, get dirty. Then I was like, okay, well, I had to explain what I just explained. And then she said, I would never let my kids, do this. And then she brought up like that she had 7 kids and so on and so forth, which is great and amazing. But it came to a point where, I had to create my own boundaries because I knew what I was doing. And obviously, it's very important for me to really share that information to her. But if she didn't truly believe with what I was saying, then so be it, right? But other than that, it's just really important to create boundaries with our parents and also our in-laws, our overall family members, because we know what we're doing, and sometimes they end up kind of saying that they know better, but sometimes you truly know better yourself. Which is why we see these different types of videos and we learn from each other. Other than that, that's my story. So enough with rambling on with that particular story that I encountered. So other than that, that's number one. Number two is not letting your baby self feed themselves. So with my son, there was like no issues at all whatsoever, because I'm like, I could spoon feed him. He could feed himself. We did so many different types of things. When it comes to my daughter, my husband was trying to spoon feed her. And, she was just like not having it. She needed to grab the spoon and feed herself, or she needed to grab the food item and really just feed herself because she completely refused to have anything. She didn't even want to feed. If she did not feed herself, she will not eat. So that's definitely something that can be disrupting mealtime for your own baby as well too. I have had also some families come in where in the past there was a particular two families that came in and they're like, my baby doesn't want to eat. And I said, let's go ahead and double check and see what's going on. So I observed what the family did with their baby. She was a really cute little girl. And I sat her down in the high chair and we had a tray and everything. And her parents brought in food. And what happened was when mom brought the spoon towards her mouth, she just completely refused. She just did not want anything to do with that spoon. So then I said, look, I have an actual food item and we have some foods here. Is it okay if I give this to her? And I think it was, oh my goodness, I believe it was like one of the crackers, like a cracker of some sort that we might have had at this particular clinic that I worked at. And the baby just grabbed it and she just started going to town. And again, the family was shocked. And ever since we had that one session that I told them, let your baby self feed, it completely changed the game. Same thing with another mom, same situation. We only did 2 sessions with that particular mom, and she said that was a game changer. So just let your baby self feed themselves. Have your baby, grab a spoon. You grab a spoon if you guys are spoon feeding. And make sure that you are also giving them an opportunity to look at this particular food item. So, for example, if you're doing steamed carrots, if you're doing steamed broccoli or cauliflower or anything like that, make sure that you're giving them that opportunity to explore that food with their hands first and then also self-feed themselves as well too. Number 3 is really tricking them into eating other foods that they are not 100% about it. So, for example, the baby's opening up their mouth when you're introducing the spoon, and then all of a sudden you're shoving in something else in their mouth because they don't like it or they're just not fond of it. Now, that can 100% cause the baby to distrust you and also not feel confident enough to understand, well, I was about to eat this, but I'm not sure where this came from. It was way too fast, or my mom or dad or family member ended up shoving something in my mouth that I truly don't like. Now I really hate it. Now I just do not like it at all whatsoever. So making sure that we are not forcing anything in the baby's mouth, especially tricking the baby. It's just, that's not okay. Making sure that if the baby is not liking something, if the baby is refusing something, make sure that you're introducing that particular food multiple times throughout the week and making sure that you're doing something that's familiar and that they do like, along with something that they potentially don't like, because exposure is everything. Exposure is very important in order for them to get familiar with that particular type of food. So mealtime can 100% be disrupted, especially if you are trying to trick the baby. Number 4 is swooping your finger in the baby's mouth because you're afraid that especially when the baby's gagging, because you're so afraid that they're potentially going to choke. Now, there's a video that I'm going to create on the difference between choking and gagging. 2 different things, completely different. Now, I'm briefly going to be talking about it right now. When it comes to choking, the baby is going to turn blue, right? When it comes to gagging, they will gag and they will turn red. That's okay. They're protecting their airway. Now, it's very important to really give them time to work it out rather than bring your finger in and try and swoop it out, because you can make this situation a little worse in terms of invading their space, in terms of causing them to feel very insecure and not feel, safe within their environment while they're eating. because obviously the mouth is very sacred, especially for anyone, for any human being, even for a baby. So swooping something out of the baby's mouth, obviously to protect them, is totally understandable. If you do it once in a while and you're noticing that there's something, very abnormal with your baby and that kind of thing, it's very important not to bring that finger in and just give the baby some time, especially if they're gagging, especially if their face is turning red or they're coughing. Again, these signs mean that the baby is trying to protect themselves, and that's very normal, and this is okay. So just give them that time and trust your baby and try and take a deep breath and relax. So that's definitely something to consider and to know about. Now, last but not least, number 5 is when you're not introducing enough chewable foods, like smaller solid foods, in order for them to really learn how to chew before 10 months is very important. If you do it after 10 months, 12 months, 12 months plus, it can be pretty disruptive for the baby because they're already used to this particular puree food that they're constantly eating. And it can totally disrupt the baby in terms of, well, this is different. I don't know what to do with it. There is more gagging and more coughing, and they start realizing, well, this is not feeling very comfortable, or I don't know what to do with it. I'm not saying to go for it with like the big chunks and that kind of thing right away after 12 months of age. What I'm trying to promote is to make sure that between 9 to 10 months of age, or a little bit before 10 months, please start introducing more of those thicker chunks or larger chunks so the baby learns how to chew. Chewing is learned. It's not an automatic reflex. It's not something where you put something in the baby's hand and they're automatically able to, grasp. It's not when you're automatically putting an object or food in their mouth. They already know how to lateralize their tongue and chew and diagonally move their jaw. They don't know how to do that because it is learned. So in order to learn, you need to expose them to those bigger chunks of food. Make sure that you are introducing those types of foods so they learn how to chew. This is why it's so important to do mouthing and mouthing toys as they get a little bit older, between the ages of 3 to 4 months and on 3+ months. In order for them to start utilizing those more of those chewy tubes and that kind of thing to strengthen more of this masseter muscle and to be able to lateralize their tongue, to be able to get to know more of their mouth. Now, in order for you to introduce more of those chunks, some people opt into doing baby-led weaning, or you could do baby-led weaning a little bit later, but try to do it a little bit before 10 months of age, again, in order for them to really get familiarized with these different types of textures before it's a little too late. I would like to create a video on picky eating habits and how to decrease the picky eating habits, especially when your baby is very little. So there's different types of things, even in utero, even when you're breastfeeding, to be able to reduce picky eating habits. Please comment on the comments below if you guys would be interested in that video to be able to decrease picky eaters. And you'll be able to really get to know and learn a little bit more about that as well too. But other than that, I hope this video is very helpful. Things of not to do with your baby, especially before starting solid foods that can potentially disrupt mealtime overall. So yeah, other than that, thank you so much for listening. And for those that are still listening, thanks so much for hanging out with me. And let me know in the comments again if there's anything else that you would like to know and learn about. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.